Look, I will just say this about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I've watched a fair amount of their games this season. Oklahoma City is 7-5 against the spread. Last night, I think, was a good example of this, where they hung in the first half versus the Nets, and then the second half, the Nets were the Nets and the Thunder were the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is fantastic. I think Josh Giddey is really going to be something. This team has purposely, this is how I described it last night. They built a really great car with an absolutely incredible engine, and they've just decided not to give it any fuel whatsoever. There's just no fuel because there's no shooting. So you can't hang in any of these games because of like how they wind up performing offensively. When I watch them, though, I think the defense is actually relatively solid. Brandon, let's start with you. Do you have any thoughts on betting, props wise or otherwise, about the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Yeah, I think that this team, I think you summed it up well. The defense has been solid, and I thought that that was a possibility here. You know, SGA should be a good defender. Dort, we know, is good. Derek Favors, while they're actually playing him, I wasn't sure exactly how much Favors we'd get, or if he would, you know, just get bubble ramped on the bench until they could find a trade place for him. So I think while those guys are in and playing, the defense should be pretty solid. And Mark Daigneault has done a nice job with this team. Like, he's not a coach that most anybody knows anything about, but given the talent that he has and the spot that they're in with so many young players, they've done a nice job. So to me, it looks like, I don't know that there's necessarily a good props angle. I tried SGA assists a couple of times. Our props tool likes that one, and they've been bouncing around a little bit. SGA assists. The problem is you got to have somebody else on the team finish your assists, and that doesn't always happen with this team. The offense, not good. Defense, good. Offense, not good. But I think it's a team that, you know, they're a team when they're a double-digit dog, or when it's especially one of those teams that we know, like the Nets, the Hawks, teams that don't show up for the bad teams. I think that's a good spot to look at the Thunder as a big underdog, and just a team that's going to be feisty and kind of hang around. I don't think that they're going to be better than that, but they can hang around and force you to actually show up that night.
They're gonna, I mean, they will tank eventually. Like, they just will. Like, I would just tell you, like, just be prepared. This team is going to tank at some point. Raheem, I do have them power ranked 25th in the league. So not great there. But I would say that I do kind of agree with Brandon. I think there's some value when they're a big dog. I think the Nets game was kind of an outlier. We've seen them hang in certain spots. Another kind of interesting trend for them, the first half under, the under is 9-3 in the first half for Thunder games, which kind of makes sense, right? Like, eventually the defense kind of breaks out, the offense breaks out against them, and they're able to kind of push it up. Like, this is what the Thunder want, is they want to hang in games and lose with dignity. Right. So, like, trying to find ways to handle these teams, I think is difficult, but I do think that there is some value if you get, like, especially if the Thunder are getting double digits, depending on the team, I think it's probably a pretty good spot for them.
Oh yeah. I mean, without a doubt, but I also think there's value on them against other bad teams. They're no longer the worst team in the league. Like, you just said that you have the Thunder ranked 25th. If you look at SRS simple rating system, they're 26. So it's like, you have teams that are worse than the Thunder by a couple points. You look at the Pelicans; they're dreadful, and this team can win some games. Like, they beat the Lakers twice, even though they didn't have LeBron James. They came off winning 4 straight games. So you can pick your spots with this team. This is not a team that you could blindly fade as you did last year.